Welcome to the lunation situation. It is eclipse season and we find ourselves at the solar eclipse in Libra, hence my dress up. Libra is all about beauty and style, so I came in style. The solar eclipse, a new moon in Libra, is going to occur October 14th at 18:00 in the evening GMT. Adjust for your local time zone. Normally under new moons, it's a very fruitful moment to make wishes and manifestations. However, my conclusion about eclipse energies is that it is so wild that it is kind of out of your hands. And this is an energy that you need to ride through the waves with. It is not a time where we take any kind of control because that would be futile. So happy eclipse season. This is the first eclipse that the nodes are now in different signs. So even though we had a solar eclipse before in Aries, 29 degrees, April 20th, the nodes were still in Taurus and Scorpio back then. So this is the first true eclipse that the nodes are also in the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. And the South Node is where the focus is on because that's where the new moon is taking place, with only a 4-degree orb between the South Node and the new moon. That means that this is a full total eclipse. And it means that the impact is stronger. So the solar eclipse is taking place at 21 degrees of Libra. You can look in your chart for what house that is for you, because that is the kind of area of your life that will be affected. Below this video, you will see a very brief description of the houses just to remind yourself what the topics are. Libra is known to be the relationship sign. It rules the 7th house of relationship commitments, one-on-one relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It's where we interact with others, where we have all sorts of relationships. So relationships with our clients, business relationships. Libra is known to, wanting to cooperate, wanting to share, wanting to do it together. It likes to be surrounded by people, and it's very social. It's an air sign, so Libra is all about communication, very skilled in communication. It's the second air sign. And social interactions is a skill that Libra also knows. And because it's ruled by Venus, it's enhanced, of course, that relationship aspect, but also the other Venusian topics such as beauty and style and aesthetics and art, and expressing yourself through these kind of ways where beauty is the frame that you work through. So a new moon solar eclipse in Libra is all about beautifying your life and whatever that means to you. But because this is a cosmic intervention, right? An eclipse is that. It's where it's kind of, it has that Uranian nature where, there are sudden changes, sudden shifts, incoming energies out of nowhere, and also just a lot of changes coming out of nowhere as well. So a lot of surprises could come. So this is more like, what's the universe bringing me? Well, it's kind of beautifying your life if you let it. And of course, maybe beauty is different to everybody. But the chances are that there could be coming in some smoothness, some pleasing to the eye themes. Libra is also about agreements and commitments, contracts, and very much about mediation. So it is finding the middle path. That's why it's so skilled in communication, because it likes to find harmony in everything. It seeks it. So it's known as, the two scales, so balance. And maybe this is a karmic balance with an eclipse, right? Where a new fresh start could come into your life, a new storyline, a new understanding, especially because this is a Venus-ruled eclipse. And oddly enough, so is the next eclipse, because eclipses come in pairs. So we have one on October 14th, but 2 weeks later, we have another one ending the eclipse season on October 29th or October 28th, according to where you live. And that is a Taurus lunar full moon eclipse. It means that Taurus is also ruled by Venus. So we have two eclipses, one after another, that is Venus ruled. This means that this eclipse season is very Venusian. Okay, and Venus is all about that beauty, like Libra. It's all about the relationship, like Libra. It is also very much about money, because at the core, Venus is actually about your self-worth, the love you have for yourself, and what you find valuable, and it has to start with yourself first, of course. And anything that's valuable, which is money, but also valuable, which is love. So I've always found it very fascinating that Venus is rules over money and relationships, because it comes from the same core, and that's self-value. So that's very much on the table. Now, if you look at the sort of evolutionary chronological journey of Venus, it has just gone through a Venus retrograde in the summer in the sign of Leo, which has, by the way, exited by this time. So Venus in this eclipse is in Virgo, 5 degrees of Virgo. But it means that by this first solar eclipse ruled by Venus, it has gone through a lot of changes over the summer. It means that you have gone through a lot of changes this summer. Venus rules the feminine energies, male or female, where there is a more desire for sensuality, and definitely because it was in Leo, it was all about passion again for your life, the lust you have for your life, for yourself, for your goals, for your ambitions, and in relationships, of course. But so the core theme of Venus being self-love, self-value, was very worked through this summer. So that is not a coincidence. That is related to this solar eclipse. It means that we've had a massive upgrade of whatever Venus represents within ourselves. We have grown in self-value. And I hope you can really feel that. I myself really have gone through a change, and I feel so much more confident, which is very Venus retrograde in Leo, which happened over the summer, right? So being more confident and standing in your own value, in your own courage, in feeling passionate again about your life, about certain maybe goals that you would like to pursue again, and also in relationships. This just brings a whole new, that is a whole new beginning in itself. And I think that's what this new moon solar eclipse in Libra represents, because this is where really that new chapter unfolds. And of course, eclipses are so powerful energies, just like major cosmic pushes that can be felt way in advance. So a solar eclipse like this can be felt at least 6 weeks before, and that would make it at the beginning of September. So, this new chapter, this much more passionate sense for life, for self-worth, you could have felt this since the beginning of September, just really strongly, and that's actually this eclipse energy. But of course, the shit hits the fan, so to speak, by October 14th, where this vibration is just really intense. And I think if you've done the work over the summer, if you've been able to put yourself more first, to demand, from a very strong place, Leo is the strength card in tarot. So from that strength, it's not demanding in a sense of overbearing, but when it comes from self-worth, self-value, it is such a strength that nobody can deny. You're not demanding it actively. It's a vibration, and people respond to that. We all understand vibration. Knowingly and unknowingly, we respond to it. So if you are being now from a very different, much more radiant position, thanks to all that Venus retrograde in the summer, this just opens the door for a very different way of living. Let's not forget that Libra is about the justice system, law, legal matters, and negotiations. So anything related to that might be on the forefront as well in your life. And I feel that a solar eclipse generally could really bring in some good news, and the luck might be in your favor, sort of. If there is justice, if justice is on your side. I mean, if it's fair, or whatever the legal case is about. And I don't mean, fair in the more divine sense. But this is also where, Libra represents also diplomacy. It, as I said, is very skilled socially and in communication skills. So knows exactly what to say, when to say it, how to be, how to act. So hence diplomacy. And these are just ways to also navigate, negotiate your way through, and get yourself that win that you need. And this definitely also increases our ability of thoughtfulness and, being able to communicate in a better way. This is, of course, crucial in life, in relationships, in everything. You need to be able to express yourself in a way that people understand. And so being about justice, being about balance, being an eclipse, I feel there is a karmic balance here. There's a karmic justice here. So, karma is actually something very neutral. It's just an energy law, right? You reap what you sow, you get what you give. That's basically karma. So, if, you were always on the sort of right side, this is where you can collect your karmic justice. And so this could be a very exciting new chapter for you, if that's the case. If we look at the charts, we see that because this is a new moon, the sun and moon are right on top of each other. The nearest in this case is both the South Node in Libra, which is why this is an eclipse, and Mercury in Libra. So this means that our mind is on it. Our mind is receiving this upgrade. And as I said, our thoughtfulness, our communication skills are just tripled, quadrupled. You know, we are able to make sense of whatever is going on. And the mind is with us, you know, for this new journey, for this new beginning. And as I said, increased ways of being able to communicate what you want, who you are, what you need. Although maybe a little complication here, because right opposite Mercury, we find Chiron retrograde. And it means that Chiron is opposite the new moon in this solar eclipse. Chiron is about very deep wounds, and it requires work and effort to heal through them. It's all about healing. There's a purpose to your wounds, and, you know, ultimately it is about turning pain into purpose. So it's also a bit of the Achilles story, where your weakness is, to me, also a strength point. So, meaning that in your pain, in your trauma, there is something that makes you stronger, something that in the end ultimately benefits you. You know, there's a lesson or a realization that comes from healing that helps you in your strength. And, you know, the opposition here is a triggering one. Is maybe a little bit, you know, raising some conflicts here and there. And these are very inner conflicts, I feel, especially because Chiron is retrograde. So this is like just a little of these lingering thoughts of, am I worthy about this? Do I deserve this? But, you know, maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not this enough. And so these little irritating thoughts that could come up, sort of like trying to derail you from this new journey. And so it requires awareness, and sort of Mercury's on it, meaning our mind is on it. It's like, I'm checking you. Like, I'm checking your triggers. I know what's about. You know, it's like, I call it like sort of debris pieces of that trauma puzzle that just, you know, just a few of these lingering things that was left behind in your healing journey. And they just come up for like a final, you know, final little pieces of, are you sure you want this? And, you know, these are little insecurities, okay? And Chiron is about, in Aries, the insecurities that you have about yourself, about who you are, your identity. Insecurities possibly also about your body and body image and your physique, you know, your passion or lack of, or, you know, motivation or lack of, and just wondering if you're sort of enough, okay? It makes sense if you understand that this South Node is involved with this eclipse. And the South Node is all about what needs to heal, what needs to be released, work through, maybe, because it's also about those lingering things, also about these patterns and blockages we have. And in Libra, it's the blockages we have around relationships, around doing it together, cooperation, but also maybe, you know, those communication and social skills that might be problematic as well. And, you know, the South Node has an inclination to focus on the negative aspects of that sign. So when you look at South Node in Libra, it's kind of a bit of, you know, the over need for validation from others, and the sort of inability to make choices sometimes because you really want to know what someone else thinks about it, what their opinion is. And it can also come from a curiosity and sort of like habit, right? If you know, like I said, the Achilles story, sort of like, you know, it's your strength, right? Libra's strength is you know, finding that harmony and balance and seeking mediation, sort of the middle road. And you know, if you look at beauty in sort of a mathematical way, it's a ratio, right? It's actually a mathematical ratio, sort of like part of it is probably the Fibonacci sequence, and like, you know, part of it is probably the flower of life, and you know, which is sacred geometry. But also what I learned from art classes in high school, that I think is it the golden ratio? Like there is a certain, and it's probably the is it the Fibonacci? There's a certain ratio that they use in art, especially in historic art. Like, let's say, Da Vinci and all these really, really famous, you know, they didn't just paint. They used a certain perspective, and they knew these mathematical equations. They knew sacred geometry, and they used that in their art, which is why it was so attractive, so meaningful, and so, you know, still to this day relevant, you know. So beauty isn't that subjective, actually. There's a formula to it. I can't really explain, but I think it has to do with how we also then experience balance. I got a little derailed, but to me, there is the golden ratio in art, and there's an expression in Dutch that says the golden middle point. So there is something golden, and that's actually funny because this could also be about luxury and stuff. Venus Libra. But so there is a strength in finding the middle path in Libra, which is golden. But the problem is that because it's your strength, in a way, it's also your weakness. Because maybe in life you can't always find the middle, or in the sort of trying to always find the middle, you forget that there is you in the equation. You know, and trying to please everybody's opinion, thoughts, is not only tiring, but after a while, because it's too much information and all that, you might not know anymore what you want and where you stand in everything. What is your opinion? What is your decision? Like, what would you do? So it's a habit that's great, but it can also be a blockage. And that's what the South Node Libra stands for. So finding out where you ask too much opinion and validation from others, where you're pleasing others more than yourself, and finding that balance between the two. Of course, you know, there's great talent in the Libra energy. So it's not about losing that, but it is about losing all that inhibits ultimately the harmony in your world, in the inner world and the outer world that revolves around you. And you know, that's why the North Node is in Aries, which is meaning that we need to evolve towards understanding who we are, you know, demanding what we want and feeling motivated to go our own way and be more individual and more not caring what other people's thoughts are, and you know, being a little bit more selfish in a healthy way. And I call that self-prioritization, because you need to put yourself first. Nobody else can do that for you. And I also know that the true value of self lies in knowing who you are. So that's also the North Node journey. And knowing who you are is just obviously multifaceted. It's not just the interests you have or the work you do or the titles and labels we give, but it's also in every experience, you almost need to adapt to, okay, and now do that then in relationships, and now do that then in friendships, and now, you know, so it's about knowing who you are and then navigating that within relationships, friendships, clients. Are you also able to stand up for yourself there? Can you express your needs there? How can you prioritize yourself there? And all that. The South Node Libra and this solar eclipse is all about releasing the blockages we have around it and to invite a new energy into it. And because this is a solar eclipse, it is, I feel, about bringing in the talented stuff of Libra, especially in relationships and anything, not just intimate relationships, also the other relationships in your life. So, but Chiron can cause a little bit of that drama where stuff could come up where you're not doing that, where the South Node sort of is triggered. And these are mental plays, probably because it's right opposite Mercury. So these are just thoughts that could just suddenly come in. But yeah, they obviously the blocking thoughts need to be released, need to be seen, and not validated by yourself because they're not true. So maybe this is a point where we can really start to put ourselves first, basically. The nodes are involved in a T-square where the point of most pressure is created by Pluto in Capricorn, who's now direct. And there is 2-3 degree orb between the nodes and Pluto. So this is strong. But also it has been going on for many months. So Pluto created the same stress for the nodes when they were in Taurus, when the North Node was in the beginning of Taurus, and the South Node at the beginning of Scorpio, because they move backwards. This T-square has been going on for a long time, affecting many lunations. And of course, it has been intensified since the North Node moved into Aries in the summer, the beginning of the summer. And since then, it has been major. And then it had sort of, it was a little bit calmer because Pluto went retrograde, which is when the energy goes more internal and the pressure is a little bit off. But now I guess the pressure is a bit on because Pluto is direct. It's in full power. And it's moving again towards the end of Capricorn. So this is an intense situation, and this is not comfortable. This is creating stress. This is creating problems, conflicts, irritation, and major discomfort. Pluto is maybe the worst planet you can have in a T-square. It intensifies all the pressure and the discomfort. It's about transformation, but it does that through bringing the dark to the light. And since most people are scared of the dark, or they don't like it, or they want to keep it there, it's highly uncomfortable. And, in the light, things look very different and not so nice anymore. So it just bears up truth, and it goes very deep by finding the truth in the lies and the secrets that are told and the hidden stuff. The criminal stuff. It just brings up all that has been going on but wasn't in awareness. We didn't know about it. And this is a collective problem. This is an energy that could create volatile stuff, such as serious conflicts. If you look at a collective view, obviously Libra, as I said, is about diplomacy. So that's a problem. Very big problems in diplomacy. And also judicial, maybe, because it's about law and justice. And then Aries is about combats. And Capricorn, where Pluto is about military. So yeah, if you add those words together, that's not a great picture. Yeah, so this could be a new story of a combat, a new page in the story, or a whole new conflict. Could be likely. Especially because the North Node is conjunct Eris. And I've explained in the new moon in Virgo how significant that is. So I highly recommend you watch that one, where I explain the whole Eris story. So Eris, in a nutshell, is about discord, chaos, and disruptions and arguments and strife, problems, sort of. But, there's a whole other meaning to it as well. But what I understand that there are people or groups who also know astrology and who use these energies. So I don't always think that it's not necessarily that because the planets are doing things like it automatically something goes on here on the earth. It's also that some people are aware of these energies and they're like, oh, well, that's the perfect time for conflict then. So they just use it because it works stronger if you have the planets behind your back, sort of, But actually Aries is just a really big, fascinating energy, if you ask me, about how the feminine energy, how the feminine anger is relevant and is also bubbling up, and how it represents the sort of chaos theory that sometimes you need to stir the pot and not be afraid to knock a few things over, to shine light on issues similar to Pluto. It's because she, that asteroid started the Trojan War. That's what they say. And she did it by throwing an apple. And sort of the gods just, it created chaos and strife, which she represents in the god world, in the sort of Greek myths. And it's just so simple, so ridiculous, that story. But it's about also the superficiality in also the feminine. And I have to say that can be also the South Node in Libra, because in a negative Libra expression, it can be sort of superficial because it likes to be on the surface. Because if you go too deep, it, the harmony could be off, and, it won't be so pretty anymore. And even though there's a great touch of Scorpio in Libra, let's not forget that, I do think in the modern Libra evolution, it can go that way, where, the superficiality, especially of the feminine, because that's the culture, right? Because over centuries, the feminine has just been made to be simple. And that's the storyline. That's what's imposed. That's exactly what the Eris myth, the story around Eris, is about. She exposes the superficiality of these goddesses, these Olympian goddesses that are so superior and yet so simple in their ways, that this whole story that she represents, the Trojan War, started because they were competing over their beauty and who was more desirable amongst these goddesses. And even though I understand that people use her energy because, she did it through creating conflict, which is you could frown upon because it's so not Libra, right? To create conflict to get some clarity. That's very Aries, where she is at, where the North Node is at. So this is illuminated. The whole superficial aspect, especially of the feminine, is but also the patriarchal system that imposes this superficiality as well, right? So it's not that simple that the feminine or the female is dumb and superficial. Obviously, that's not the case. But it is a paradigm, a storyline that was created. You know, the woman is weaker and should only be involved with beauty and looks and the simple life, and she shouldn't want that much. She shouldn't do that much. She should definitely silence herself, you know, and do not speak, do not create conflict, you know, do not make the patriarchal society, the masculine society uncomfortable, to not speak against the system, to not expose the system, so to speak, because I think most people do not even understand that it is a systematic thing. And that was actually, I believe, what Eris was trying to do. It's just that her way of doing it was different, because she believed, like Plato, that the world was chaotic and that only chaos could sort of lead to harmony, only through chaos, you know? And she's the feminine Pluto. So this archetype is very important to understand. And if you incarnated into this world as a feminine or as a woman, this story is very relevant, especially now. But the same energy will be used for chaos and conflicts as well. So, and this is another great example of how astrology works, because like everything else, it's, you know, it's a scale. It's a where are you on the scale? Like, are you on the, you know, what kind of expression? Where are you in your evolvement? Let's not forget that Mercury, that close to this solar eclipse, is also about news and information coming in. Solar eclipse, new news, new information. Then, quite interestingly, we have a yod again. In these recent times, many yod patterns can be found. The yod is said to be the finger of God, so pointing to a very divine sort of intervention, a divine need to get us into a different direction, and that is not easy because it's created by two quincunxes, as they say. And those are kind of uncomfortable energies, awkward energies. So, but the yod, sort of the strength, the easier part of the yod is made by Uranus in Taurus, retrograde, Neptune in Pisces, retrograde. So these two outer planets, generational planets, and these planets who represent higher consciousness and perspective. One is about the higher mind, Uranus, and just a new way of looking at life on Earth and how to change it. And then Neptune in Pisces is about the spiritual perspective, the divine perspective, the need for introspection, the need for intuition, the need to tune into the divine and the divine aspect of yourself. So this sextile I've been talking about for a while as well. This is, to me, a whole new world kind of aspect. This is where we bring in sort of the new earth energies, if you feel that. But this is where we anchor in these divine codes into this new earth. So that is what this sextile is saying, actually. But it points, the finger of God points to the solar eclipse and to the south node in Libra. And that is fascinating. So, of course, we always know that an eclipse is a cosmic, influx of energies, but to be enhanced so clearly by the yod that this is also a divine intervention. So this solar eclipse has something there's a profoundness to this energy. It's magical as well, it's mystical as well. This is divine upgrading us in, for sure, the mind. So we could, around this time, and that's probably the only thing you can do, so to speak, around this time, is to relax and meditate, because a lot of codes can be downloaded around this solar eclipse in Libra. And a lot of information could come to you and you would not know from where. That is wild. That is just a fantastic idea. And this ultimately could help us to create that new earth, the new reality where there is more pleasure and there is where things become more valuable and we could live a more simple life, hopefully more good life. And related to that is obviously relationships and how we relate to another. And it seems that that is being brought to the table. And so these codes are about relationships, about how to have more harmony and balance in them. And so we're receiving the codes for that, how to do that, how to be that, how to experience that, how to attract that. So this is just a very higher consciousness that we will enter into. That's quite promising, actually. And so the ruler, of course, as I said, is Venus in Virgo. Now, that's sort of interesting because she's at fall here in classic astrology. So it means that Venus is at home in Taurus and Libra. And she is exalted, Venus, in Pisces. And it means that if she's exalted in Pisces, then her fall happens on the opposite side. So she's furthest away from her highest expression in Virgo. And that means that Venus in Virgo is very detailed. It's about the nitty-gritty of everything. So she's keeping tracks of the money and she's planning the budget, and hygiene is a big thing, health is a big thing, and she's very good at organizing everything. Everything has a place and a purpose. If she goes too much in that, and it is her fall place, so she doesn't really know how to navigate this in a very good way. So we go too much into that, we lose that Venusian ability to enjoy and to experience loving relationships. Because in loving relationships, you cannot plan everything to the T. And, obviously hygiene is important, but, and so is health. But we cannot be freakish about it because it it blocks the joy. So she's navigating these waters that aren't very fun for her, meaning for us. And but to turn it around into wanting to see the positive in it is that she is able to sort of get her shit together, meaning you're able to get your shit together. And that is, the skill of Virgo, being able to organize and to improve, in a sense like Libra, where Libra wants to beautify, which is also improvement, right? So that's something Venus can use here, that she wants to improve the physical world around her and the physicalness of herself. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, obviously, so this is where you should find the pleasure in taking care of your body, of your health, looking after yourself. It's also, interestingly, about that Venus retrograde in Leo that we had in the summer, where now your self-value has increased, right? This is the walk your talk part of the story. So, okay, your self-worth, your self-love has increased. Great, wonderful. Now do it. Mean what you say. Actively take the steps. Put in the effort. Watch what you eat. Watch your, health routines. Do your exercises. Take longer walks. Whatever it is that you want to do to improve your health. Eat more organic. Whatever, to improve your body-mind health. And it's also about purity, Virgo. So in the higher expression, in that spectrum, as I said, of what kind of expression you give to the sign, the highest is purity in Virgo. So purity, from the higher perspective of the philosophical perspective, is also that sort of divineness, right? The Mother Mary kind of energy, where you're pure in your intentions and your actions. And it's sort of like the need to have a spiritual hygiene physically. So this is also a wonderful description, actually, of the opposition that's occurring between Venus and Saturn retrograde at 0 degrees of Pisces. So spiritual hygiene in the physical reality means that you clear your energy, you ground yourself through earth, like barefoot walking on earth, like grassland or whatever. Or if you're so lucky to be able to go into the water or anything like that. Natural water outside. This is about grounding your energy. This is about cleaning your energy, and this is also in like putting not only health routines, but also spiritual routines, right? Where you do your meditation, you do your prayer, and it's all related to that self-value story that Venus has gone through, meaning you, again, right? As I say, Venus, it's obviously your feminine side. So the feminine aspect of you has undergone this process. You have increased your self-value. Now you do the practical stuff. You implement it into your daily life. And the self-value affects, should affect how you treat yourself physically, how you take care of your body and your health, wellness, but also mind, because Virgo is also about, it's Mercury ruled, so it's the body-mind connection. And the need, as I said, to also have spiritual routines and spiritual hygiene implemented into your daily life so that you increase that self-love, that self-value that you have embarked upon in these recent times. And this could also be where we can increase our mental health. But maybe this could also bring in a bit of tiredness. And that is not surprising, because if there's so many cosmic energies, right? So many triggers with that Chiron and the Pluto pressuring everybody in this world, that's obviously pretty tiring and could be very heavy on the body and the mind. So take it easy, take it slow, be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself. And whatever comes up is an invitation for healing. So just listen to whatever comes up. Try to take the effort to, find some healing method to deal with it. If you're too tired, you rest first, you write down whatever the information is, and then later you go after, because you have emotional maturity now to deal with these issues that need to be healed or worked through or seen, which I all call healing. This opposition between Venus and Saturn retrograde is being smoothed over by Mars, our personal planet of action and motivation and vitality and passion, is in Scorpio, 1 degrees. And it means that it's kind of sextiling the ruler, Venus. So there's a harmony between the masculine and the feminine, which is very nice. So something is being balanced out here between the masculine and the feminine energies, which is so Libra, right? But it's not in the Libra signs. So Mars in Scorpio is comfortable because it used to rule Scorpio before Pluto was discovered. So this just brings more depth to whatever Mars is about, the motivation, the lust, the passion, the desires, very sexual, very slightly emotional, obsessed, and sort of like an increased focus to Mars here. And I guess it helps Venus because it's a sextile. So this is where you can really build earth and water, build some strong foundations within, between, health and also the direction in your life. And this is also about deeply healing the feminine and the masculine wounds, and to clear a lot in the subconscious. And I guess this is all related to those Libra themes of having more healthy, balanced relationships ultimately. So these last bits and pieces that I've been explaining about the eclipse are very beautiful and wonderful to get into this world more of. So this is what we're working with, but it's just like Libra, it's a balance between, there is a lot of heaviness, but there's also, this is a solar eclipse eclipsing in major important energies, and we are guided, so there's no need for panic. Just keep it low and slow. Take it easy. Take very much care of yourself. We are not only in an eclipse, but it also means we are in between eclipses by the next lunation situation. So truly take great care of yourself and classical astrology says not to take a lot of risks during eclipses because it is Uranian. It could be accident prone. It could be just so many energies are changing, coming in and coming out, and it's very overwhelming for the body, the mind, and soul. So be kind to yourself and be kind to others, knowing that there's so much changing. And I will see you in the next lunation situation. Much love. Bye.